Today, welcome back to Alice Customs Project Car TV. Today I'm going to try and work on my Scout a little bit, and I pulled it in day before yesterday, and just to get it out of the other building and into here so I could get some other stuff done out there. And I already got a flat tire again, so we're going to actually try and do some good work on this, in that not just like we did before where we tried to get it running. Kind of evaluated it now that it needs exhaust, it needs carburetor kit, it needs oil change and a bunch of fluids change and stuff. So a lot of the bushings are wore out and stuff, so I bought a lot of parts over, honestly I started before I even had taken custody of the truck. I knew I was going to get it, it was just a matter of timing, and so I started buying parts because I'd worked out the deal on it about a year before I got it delivered out here. And so I started buying parts probably 9 months or more, almost a year before I actually got the truck. So the idea is I'm going to fill that tire up with air, and then I'm going to back it out and get the air and blow it all off, clean it off again with it outside the shop. And once it's cleaned off, we'll pull it back in, get it on the lift, and start looking at what we can do to bring it up to at least something we can drive, probably not daily, but we could drive anytime we wanted. And then I've got some upgrade stuff that I'm ready to do as well, so we'll be doing some of that at the same time. For example, I bought a lift kit for it, so I'm not going to redo bushings on the old leaf springs and stuff. I'm just going to put new leaf springs and other parts in it. So we'll be upgrading as we go. We'll be in and out of this lift, in and out of this bay a few times over the next few months, and we'll get a bunch of this stuff done, some upgrades done, and we'll kind of break it up into projects that are easily managed. My goal with this truck is just to make it a driver, just something you can jump in, drive it wherever you want, take it hunting, whatever. It's nothing, not going to be a show rig. I will eventually in time fix the rust holes and the dents, but that's not an immediate kind of thing. And I'm going to take the truck back to the original white that it was when my grandfather had it. So as we have other stuff apart, if there's an opportunity to paint something or to powder coat something that we're not going to have to take on and off 10 more times, then I'll take those opportunities. Like under the hood, if I end up pulling the engine or something for some reason, or I know at some point I want to lift the body off the frame to replace all the body mounts, and I think there's some rust damage under there that it'd be worth fixing at that time, that'd be the time to go ahead and get the body off completely, roll the chassis out of the way, and undercoat the bottom of the body, fix all the rust, all that kind of stuff. So you'll see all that stuff, but thanks for joining me, and I hope you enjoy. Okay, so I thought we'd try and do a quick tour under the vehicle here. So things here are at the rear of the truck. Shackles are, the exhaust is pointed right down at it and rusted out in a couple of places and crinkled and completely destroyed. So back up here you can see on the exhaust it's not even attached anymore. We come around, basically appears that one shock was mounted upside down, and if it's equal rebound and compression it wouldn't matter, but otherwise it does kind of change how they ride. We have a ton of rust in this corner, so we'll be looking to try and fix that. A lot of surface rust under here. The body doesn't look in too bad a shape. It's nothing I've seen yet. Transfer case is just a sieve. I would be shocked to find out if there's any oil in there. Let's see. appears either the oil pan gasket or the rear main or both are probably leaking. Maybe the front seal on the transmission. Front main appears to be leaking. And then we've got enough oil up high that it's got to be coming out of a valve cover or something like that as well. Front differential actually looks to be sealed up pretty well. My brother painted that cover blue back in the 80s. What else? The disc brake conversion was done back then, and I think we talked about on the last video that brakes still aren't very good, and that's more of a scout thing than an issue with those particular brakes. Going back towards the back of the vehicle again. Rear differential actually looks like it's been pretty well sealed up. But I'm guessing we have a leak in the drums on both sides because there's quite a bit of fluid and stuff around the ports. And then I know that this filler tube for the fuel tank is cracked somewhere up top because we keep getting fuel leaking out when you try and fill it. So things like this, we can fix this dent and pull that. Like I said, I'm not going to get too crazy about it just yet as far as dent repair or rust repair. There's a lot of Bondo left over on this one. It's all left over from the 80s when it was fixed the last time. Or hidden the last time. This body mount is completely rotted out. So we'll be looking to repair that. And same thing on this side, passenger side. Not quite as bad, but it's definitely rotted out and gone. So we'll be looking to repair that one as well. Surprisingly, the rest of the body mounts actually look pretty good. Now, this truck's always been a New Mexico truck, except for it spent a little bit of time in Arizona, and then it spent probably 6 or 7 years, maybe a little more than that even, in Colorado. But actually, most of that it was stored inside a barn and not used at all. So we'll get 2 body mounts to replace and clean up a bunch of stuff. You can see, so the winch was installed when my grandfather bought it at the dealer or factory option. Just kind of depends what you read. It looks like it's a factory option, but a lot of them are factory options that were dealer installed. Then my grandfather would have put this front hitch on here and he would have used that for putting his boats in the water. So the front of this truck's been in the water a few times, I guarantee you. All lake water. But actually it has fairly new shocks on it, so imagine one of my cousins did that work at some point. So anyway, that's the underhood view, and we're gonna get started by getting these tires and wheels off and get rid of the pieces of exhaust that don't even go anywhere or are broken, rusted through. Then we're gonna get that fuel filler and probably the fuel tank out, and we'll just go ahead and clean the fuel tank and fuel filler all at once. Well guys, I've had a little mission creep. I get project creep.
Project creep.
Before I started taking things apart, my intent was to put springs on it, probably work on the brakes a little bit, and eventually start fixing some of the oil leaks and stuff like that. But basically keep it as a driver. I've already kind of shown getting seats ready, and they're supposed to be back from upholstery anytime now. They were supposed to be back months ago, but Corona kind of has delayed everything. Well, as I bought new body bushings because I knew those were wore out. I mean, they're the original. And as I was looking to be able to put those on, I started seeing that, so if you don't count the radiator support, or I guess if you do count the radiator support, there's 8 bolts that hold the body onto the frame, chassis. The two that are right here and right there are completely rusted out. That one, I took the bolt out, but you didn't have to. There was nothing holding it there. This one had slightly more structure in the floor, but the bracing and everything is completely rotted out. And then in the back corner on the passenger side, that one mounts to a piece on the frame that kind of looks like a bumper cover. It's a piece of channel that goes across the back. Well, I got to look at it and I could see it was cracked, so I thought, well, I'll pull the rear bumper off because it's bent anyway, and so I'd like to try and save that one because it's original. But as soon as I took the bumper off, the bracket I could see was pretty well cracked all the way through. So I took the bolt out, and of course, there's a chunk of the frame. So we'll weld that back on and probably put a gusset or something in there. I'm going to make these, because here's the deal, this has got to be a low buck project. It's not a show car, it's not going to SEMA or anything like that. This is for me, and I've bought tires and wheels, I've bought a fuel injection system for it, I've bought a Hydro Boost brake system conversion, and I just bought pieces. I'm just going to do the conversion myself. Essentially, if you buy a kit, you get the Hydro Boost system, you get a master cylinder, and you get some hoses and a bracket to mount at the firewall. Well, I bought my own Hydro Boost, I bought their bracket, and I bought a power steering pump that has the extra return line in it. So no big deal. It's a pretty simple process, and then some hoses. So I've spent probably $2,000, maybe $2,500 on parts so far already. Oh, and I bought a lift kit, so really $3,000 I've already spent. I only had about a $5,000 budget total to keep it on the road. I took the rear drum off of the passenger side to check the brakes, and about half the parts fell out in my hands. The shoes are completely shot, so we got to redo those anyway. Some of the brake lines look like they've been beat up and twisted, and so we'll end up redoing some brake lines along the back. All the brake hoses, like this one's got a big old curl in it from being put on incorrectly. It's a factory AC truck, and I'd like the AC to work, but it didn't have any pressure. The compressor spins, so I don't know if it's a bad compressor or if it just leaked. But it had old hoses on it, and they were just regular hose clamps holding it on. I don't know if they weren't as high a pressure as modern systems, or, I'm just not familiar with that type of compressor. Anyway, all that said, couldn't put it together with basically half the body mounts rotted out or missing. I don't see any reason to try and pull the front clip to get the engine out when I could just raise the body up and do the work on the body, and I'll pull the frame out, I'll power wash all this. I'm probably going to go ahead and pull the motor, the transmission, and the transfer case and put new gaskets and seals and everything. I'm not going to really do a rebuild. The truck runs well enough, and I don't, it's got 80,000 miles on it, but I'll check compression just to see what kind of condition it's actually in. But that's about it. We're just going to try and keep this down to a reasonable project. So I'm basically going to say I'm willing to spend about $2,000 more on it, and that has to include paint and body work. So, that means I got to do the body work. I'm going to kind of do two things here, essentially at the same time with the truck. I'm going to get the frame dolled up. I'll just paint it black with. I'll go get some chassis black or something, and I'll get all the oil leaks and everything sealed up, and while I'm doing that, I'll get an exhaust system built and end up doing that myself probably. We'll start in on the body and do everything underneath the body that needs to be done to make it solid again. And then I will probably take this fender off and beat the dents out and straighten out the inner structure. And if I can find these panels cheap enough, I'll go ahead and replace those while the fenders are off. I know they're available, it's just, price right now. So this will be probably our $5,000 Scout, because that's about what we'll have in it to modernize it and to make it safe and roadworthy. I didn't intend to let this project go this direction. I was going to get some stuff cleaned up and bring you guys in and just start in on whichever project we decided to do first. And I was kind of thinking it would be putting the lift kit on, but I think we're gonna go ahead and strip the frame all the way down, clean it up, paint it, and then put everything back on it so that everything, as we go on, we only have to do it one time. Thanks for watching. See you again next week.